Hey everyone, so this week we're talking all about loose leash walking. Let's first talk about what this behavior looks like. So it's going to change person to person and it is totally your preference. Me, with my dog, I'm fine with her being out at the end of the leash, whereas other people would like their dogs to have much more slack in the leash. But as long as my dog's not yanking my arm off, I am completely fine with that. I also want to note here that we are not teaching a formal heel in this video with teaching your dog to walk right next to you, but rather we're teaching them how to appropriately walk on a leash so you can have a comfortable walk with your dog. So why do our dogs pull? Well, the simple answer is it gets them where they want to go. By allowing my dog to pull me over to the tree they want to sniff, I'm actually reinforcing that pulling behavior. Pulling gets them where they want to go. So if that works for them that one time, they are more likely to do it more and more in the future. So then the question becomes, how do I get my dog to walk nicely with me on leash? Well, that's what I'm going to go over in the rest of this video. There are many techniques to teach loose leash walking to your dog. The ones that I'm going to show you in this video I have found work very effectively. So what we're going to go over first is just the very basic mechanics of loose leash walking. So here I have my dog on my left side. They can absolutely be on your right side. It doesn't really matter with this. Again, we're not teaching a formal heel. I have my treat bag on the same side as my dog to easily treat my dog. And then in the other hand, I have my clicker and my leash. Now the technique here is all I'm doing is taking one step forward, stop, click, treat my dog. Step forward, stop, click, treat my dog. Starting to do this inside first where there's no distractions is going to help your dog learn that, hey, if you step forward with me, a treat is always going to appear at my left side. This will then make it much easier when you take this outside. Your dog will already know what to expect. Now, the next step to this is I'm actually encouraging Wrigley to step backwards with me. This is kind of going into the newer technique you'll be using outside that I'll show you an example of here in a moment. But what I'm doing is I'm encouraging her to come back with me and then taking a couple steps forward, stop, click, and treat. You're going to want to repeat this a couple times to get your dog into the repetition of it. They might start to look a little bit bored and confused why you're doing this in the house, but I promise it will bode well for later on when we go outside. Okay, the next exercise, you're going to need a chair. Here we're going to be talking all about leash pressure. So our dogs have what's called an oppositional reflex. It's the same in people. If I were to go up to you and grab you by your shirt collar and pull you towards me, your natural instinct would be to back away from that. It's just the same with our dogs and grabbing their collars or having pressure applied on their collars. So instead of having your dog hit the end of the leash and pull away from you, I actually want to teach them that giving into that pressure is what we want from them instead. So here what I'm doing with Wrigley is I have her leash attached to her collar first. The reason for this is it just more evenly distributes the pressure around her neck and makes it easier for her to learn this exercise. Then all I'm doing is applying a very, very small amount of pressure. I do not want you guys pulling your dogs across the room with this exercise. Very slight pressure, and I'm moving it towards me. As soon as she moves her body in my direction, that's when I click and give her a treat. So here we've advanced to standing up and practicing in that position, and I have her leash attached to the front of her front clip harness. So same thing here, you guys. I am applying a very slight amount of pressure. Wrigley already knows this exercise pretty well, so very slight pressure towards me. As soon as she makes that movement towards me, I'm going to click and give her a treat for that. Now, you might have to wait your dog out for a while doing this. That's why I recommend sitting down at first so we don't continue to apply pressure around our dogs, but you're just going to wait them out. Patience is key in this exercise. You can inadvertently teach your dog that if they wait you out long enough, you will give in to the leash pressure, and that is not what we want to teach you. That is the opposite of what we want to teach. So just calmly wait your dogs out, do it when you're not in a rush, and just wait for them to give into that pressure, give them a click and a treat. When you're ready to take this outside, I recommend starting in an environment that is not going to be super distracting to your dog and practicing the exact same skills we practiced inside. So here all I'm doing is practicing moving forward with Wrigley, clicking and treat her for maintaining that loose leash every couple of steps. If your dog needs to be rewarded every single step along the way, start there. That's perfect. If your dog starts to pull a little bit, all you're going to do is start backing up, encourage your dog to come with you, then take a couple steps forward, click, and treat. Once your dog has mastered that non-distracting environment, I suggest going to a more distracting environment. So again, we're clicking and treating every couple of steps for maintaining that loose leash. Wrigley is choosing to stay by my side because of what we practiced inside first. She knows the drill here. And again, if your dog starts to pull you along, you're going to just take a couple steps back, encourage your dog to come with you. When they do, turn, walk forwards a couple steps, then click and treat along the way, and remain clicking and treating as you go along. Now here's a great example of a highly distracting situation. Wrigley just saw a bunny dart into the bush and she's very excited and wants to go over there. So if she starts to pull me forwards, I'm going to immediately start to back up, and then as we're going forward, click and treat her for maintaining that loose leash. So I am backing up until my dog really starts to turn around and come with me. So here she kind of goes off to the side, but when she's back with me, immediately I start moving forward again and go into clicking and treating for moving forwards. Now, if she's walking on a loose leash, she is perfectly allowed to go sniff this bush where the bunny darted into. That is completely fine. Again, I want you to allow your dogs to sniff during the walks. She just can't be pulling me along while we're doing that. So if she starts to do that, I'm just going to go back to the same technique, backing up until she kind of pays attention to me, and then immediately moving forwards again. The next concept I want to talk about is something called real life rewards. So this is actually taking the treats out of the picture. We're still going to use that backing up technique, but now the reward is actually getting to move forwards again. So as you can see here, Wrigley really wants to move forwards, but every time she goes to pull on the leash, Ryan here is just going to start backing up with her, and until she comes all the way back and kind of pays attention to him, she's not allowed to move forwards again. And as soon as she's back with him, he's going to allow her to move forwards. So backing up until she kind of pays attention. Right there, we're going to stop and kind of move forwards again. She gets to move forward as long as she's on a loose leash. Now, you're only going to want to start doing this after you've done several repetitions and practice training sessions with using treats to show your dog what we want from them before you go to taking treats out of the picture. So what is a real life reward? It can be anything your dog is interested in the environment. The grass to sniff, the tree they want to pee on. For a male dog, peeing on a tree is a huge reward. For a lot of dogs, the action of moving forward, like COCO here, the action of moving forward is super reinforcing to her, just as reinforcing as handfuls of chicken. So we can use those in place of the food after your dog has an understanding of what we want from them, and then we can substitute those food rewards for things that they want in the environment instead. COCO here is still a pretty young puppy. She used to lunge and pull her owners all the way down the street, so this is much better for her. She's still working on it, but she's really starting to get the concept of she can't move forwards unless she does it with a loose leash. Patience and repetition is really key with loose leash walking. It's something that you're always going to have to really remind your dog of. If they start being allowed to pull again, they're just going to revert right back to pulling you down the street. So really spending the time to work on the basic steps is going to take you really far in loose leash walking. I hope everyone found this video helpful and maybe included a few tips that you weren't aware of. So get out there and practice with your dogs. This one requires lots and lots of practice and lots of patience. For some dogs it comes really easy and they get it within a few walks. Others it can take months for them to really get the concept of this. So be patient with your dog. If you work diligently with it, you're going to have a dog that can walk very nicely on a loose leash. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next Thursday. Happy training.